The Joe Biden presidency has begun. I wish I could say I am hopeful, but as a progressive, I am skeptical of a politician that has a terrible neoliberal track record and that is too tied to the elites of this country. Don't get me wrong, I voted for Joe Biden and congratulate the administration on some of their executive actions they have initiated thus far. For example, he stopped the Keystone Pipeline, which ran through indigenous lands. He reversed Trump era immigration policies, and he signed an executive order to end federal contracts with prisons, which is a small step to a much larger problem. But hey, you have to give credit where it's due. My concern with this administration is twofold. Joe Biden is an old school politician that comes from an era where politicians in Washington would debate on the Congress floor and then have dinner afterwards at a restaurant. That Washington no longer exists. We live in a polarized America where politicians are busy trying to own each other on Twitter. That dynamic is not going away anytime soon. I don't fault him for trying to push a message of civility, but that approach is not what is going to get wins in this era of politics. We saw what the Republicans did to President Obama. I feel that President Obama could have done a lot more, but you can't ignore the reality that Republicans obstructed him at every corner. What makes Joe Biden think that this is going away anytime soon? I believe that the political dynamics Joe Biden has inherited are even worse than those of President Obama. We have a Republican Party that is reactive to the wishes of the MAGA cult, and that means stopping anything they perceive as a radical left agenda. To be fair, the left voted for a Democratic Congress in 2018 to stop any agenda that the Trump administration and the Republicans had in mind. That is the nature of our politics. It's unfortunate, but Biden can't play nice with Republicans. He has to use any leverage he can to pass an agenda that helps working people during this pandemic and economic crisis. It is a good sign that they are currently using the reconciliation process to get COVID relief passed. Let's hope this is not the last time they use it. So here's my second concern with President Biden. His views on politics are through a neoliberal ideology, an ideology that favors the rich at the expense of the poor. I feel that every time Joe Biden goes to the negotiating table, he doesn't go there with the interests of the working class first. He goes in trying to see what scraps he can get for working class people without upsetting the elites. That mentality is not what we need right now. The reason a fascist like Trump rose to power is because working people are hurting right now. As a matter of fact, working people have been hurting for over 40 years now. Wages have not kept up with inflation, unions have been decimated in regards to their influence, and government has been exploited as a tool to favor the needs of the rich. Those are the conditions that led to someone like President Trump. If we are to prevent an even worse Trump in the future, President Biden has to go big. And I'm not talking about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, but in 2025 big, as his administration has proposed, which at this current moment is being left off the table in the COVID relief bill. The reality is, working people need help now. Here is the problem with the neoliberal ideology. The ideology has promoted the idea that anything good for the rich is good for the rest of us. That is not the case. The neoliberal order has been intact for 40 years now, and the working class is not doing any better because of it. Centrist Democrats have bought into this ideology, and you can see the ideology being manifested by people such as Democrat Joe Manchin of West Virginia, who came out to oppose the $2,000 stimulus checks that the Democrats promised if they won control of the Senate. It is these kinds of people that are likely to obstruct anything that is good for working people. They have it in their heads that government policies that help working people are too much to consider because the policies will blow up our national debt. What if I told you that there was a theory that changed the way we think about deficits and would help pass a progressive agenda in Congress. The theory is called Modern Monetary Theory, MMT, and one of its most prominent proponents is Stephanie Kelton. I recommend you check out her work. The theory proposes that it's wrong to look at the balances of our government in the same way we look at our home budgets. When ordinary people have debt, it means that they owe a bank or some type of lender. That is not the way our government works. The United States government prints out its own money, meaning that the government really doesn't owe anybody but themselves. Now, that doesn't mean that the government should just print whatever money it wants. If government prints out too much money, you risk inflation, meaning the dollar would be worthless. MMT proposes that the government should print money to stimulate the economy when the economy is not at full capacity. When the economy is at full capacity, then you have to stop printing money to avoid inflation. This means that we can go forward and invest in renewable energies, creating millions of jobs, invest in Medicare for all, and make college tuition free at public universities. I believe this theory holds merit because when former Congressman Paul Ryan questioned Alan Greenspan, the former chair of the Federal Reserve, about government spending, Greenspan said that there is nothing to prevent the government from printing as much money as it wants. I suggest you look up the YouTube clip to see it yourself. So you see, there are possibilities to create a progressive agenda that benefits working people in both urban and rural areas. The question is whether there is a political will to do it. There is also the obstacle of convincing centrist Democrats and Republicans that MMT is the way to go. My only hope right now is that Senator Bernie Sanders is the chairman of the Budget Committee. He is the only one that is willing to spend on the American worker, not just for the sake of giving people things, but because he knows that curing the economic woes of working people is what is going to save our democracy. Senator Sanders has already proposed using budget reconciliation, which would require 50 votes in the Senate, with Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker. This is a path to get out a progressive agenda that can help working people during this time of need. This means the means are there to get it done. But let's see if centrist Democrats and the elites that sponsor them allow them to go along with an agenda that works for working people.